Okay, well, I'm not a big YouTube video guy, but I thought I would share my experience with installing stainless steel front brake lines on the 2017 V-Strom 650, and these are from Galfer. Instructions are pretty good. You got bike-specific pictures, and installation went pretty well. It's a little trickier than maybe most bikes because you've got an issue here with the radiator getting in the way with some of your connections, but I'm going to talk about that in a second. These were plus 2-inch extended lines that the previous owner included with the bike. They were uninstalled. He had plus 2-inch lines because when he rode the bike he had pullback risers. I'm not using any risers, so I found out that you can send these lines back to Galfer, and for $25 plus shipping both ways, they will shorten these. So they trimmed 2 inches off of this and then refitted them and sent them back to me. And this wire line here is a little tight. I'm wondering if it was maybe shortened a little too much, but it's going to work. But here it is right here. I decided to give it just some extra slack, not to use the retainer that they supplied, which is... See, here it is right here. This goes and replaces the stock retainer, but not having that is going to allow this to move around a little more as the handlebars get turned back and forth. When you turn the handlebars to the left, this does get a little bit tight, so this is going to help that. Also, I have a fork brace, and should this fork brace bump up against this line, it'll give it a little more room to move around. So I don't see any consequences in leaving that untethered there. Up under here is where these connect. What you have to do is drop this radiator down to get to the hard lines that are back here that attach to the hoses. And there's 3 bolts, this corner, this lower corner, and then the opposite lower corner. There are 3 bolts that you need to remove, and then on this upper corner on this side, there's just a post that the radiator slides off of after you get the other 3 posts, or the other 3 bolts unattached. Then you can drop this radiator down, and you get all the room you need to attach these lines, these aftermarket lines, to the stock hard lines that are behind this radiator. Galfer does include these little copper or brass looking flying saucer shaped restrictors that do go in between the line and the stock line, so you got to remember to insert those in there before you tighten them down, and then you just bolt them onto this retaining bracket, and not too difficult. This line over here, this line that runs down to the right caliper, is a little long and saggy. I'm kind of wondering why they made this as long as they did. I mean, it's all this extra length is contributed by the fact that I have 15 millimeters of space there. I've slid the forks up in the bridge to lower the front end a little bit, so that adds to it, but still I'm surprised that there's this much hose here. The bike's on the center stand. If I were to, so there's not a lot of weight on this front wheel, so if I were to get the front wheel off the ground, this would not, the wheel would not drop down enough to take out all this slack. But anyway, I guess it's no big deal. You don't really see it. The bodywork covers it. It's just unusual that you've got all this extra line here. The fittings are pretty typical. The only thing you have to be careful of is as you torque down these banjo bolts, your angle right here can get screwed up because there's not any kind of stop to hold this at the proper angle. As you tighten this down, this will turn in towards the wheel. And on this side of the bike, you don't have that problem with this fitting because there is a stop right here, but when you do the outer one, you will have to try to maintain this angle here as you torque this down. But and then they include 2 retainers. This one I believe is designed to hold the brake line and the ABS sensor, but I've run my electrical line for my lights through it instead, and then the ABS sensor just runs behind it. And then there's another retainer right here that holds just the brake line. So how does it perform? Does it improve braking? Well, I don't know. There's snow on the ground outside, and I'll update the description below with my comments on whether or not it helps. That's it. Hope this is helpful.